Imagine this scenario. It is late summer 2016. You are the CEO of a major electronics company in Silicon Valley or a large fashion brand in Europe. Christmas, your biggest sales season, is just around the corner. You have millions of dollars worth of inventory, your entire holiday stock, packed into huge metal containers floating somewhere in the Pacific Ocean. Now imagine receiving the most terrifying email of your career. It simply states, your cargo has been abandoned. It hasn't been lost in a storm. It's not piracy. It's a financial collapse. The catastrophic bankruptcy of Hanjin Shipping, once the world's 7th largest container carrier, revealed the terrifying yet often invisible fragility of global trade to the world. The story of Hanjin's collapse is not just one of hurt investors. It also physically froze the global supply chain, leaving billions of dollars of goods, from sneakers to flat-screen TVs, stranded at sea and turning the ocean into a massive floating financial graveyard. To understand this disaster, we must first appreciate the system that Hanjin helped to build. We live in the age of containerization, a system that was pioneered in the 1950s and which has since become the standard for global trade. Before containers, loading a ship took weeks and required a great deal of manual labor. After containers, a ship could be loaded in hours. This efficiency fueled globalization, enabling complex manufacturing chains to stretch from Asia to the West. Hanjin was a pillar of this system and a key part of South Korea's industrial might. It moved 100 million tons of cargo annually and operated one of the world's most recognizable fleets. However, beneath the monumental scale of the industry, a slow-motion financial accident was waiting to happen. The core issue was a deadly combination of overcapacity, plummeting freight rates, and enormous debt. The industry's troubles can be traced back to the massive economic boom fueled by China's entry into the WTO, World Trade Organization. Anticipating endless double-digit growth in global trade volumes, shipping lines rushed to order fleets of ultra-large container vessels, ULCVs, ships so large that they could carry over 18,000 TEUs, 20-foot equivalent units. Financed by billions in cheap debt, primarily from Korean and European banks, these were floating giants. Hanjin, like many rivals, expanded aggressively and accumulated a multi-billion-dollar debt. However, when the 2008 financial crisis hit, and the subsequent recovery was slower than anticipated, trade volume growth stalled. Yet the new ULCVs continued to roll out of the shipyards. This created a colossal supply glut. Too many ships chasing too few goods. Consequently, freight rates, the price companies charge to ship a container, plummeted to unsustainable lows, sometimes barely covering the cost of fuel. Hanjin found itself in an impossible situation. It was operating huge ships full of cargo but somehow losing money on every voyage. Their revenue could not cover operational costs, let alone the interest payments on their multi-billion-dollar debt. They had become the financial equivalent of a high-speed train running on bald tires. Their fate was sealed by a classic fatal equation: low revenue plus massive fixed costs plus crippling debt. The breaking point arrived in August 2016. After years of struggle and repeated restructuring, Hanjin's principal creditor, the state-run Korea Development Bank, finally pulled the plug. They declared that Hanjin was no longer viable and refused to provide any more financial support. On 31st August, Hanjin Shipping officially filed for bankruptcy protection. The consequences were immediate and catastrophic. Suddenly, Hanjin's fleet of almost 100 enormous container ships, many of which were larger than the Empire State Building, became outcasts. They were transporting cargo worth an estimated $14 billion around the globe, but as soon as the bankruptcy was announced, ports in the US, Asia, and Europe refused to let them dock. Tugboat operators, longshoremen, and fuel suppliers all refused to service them. Why? Legally, if a Hanjin ship docked, the port authorities and service providers feared they would never be paid. Furthermore, in many jurisdictions, creditors could seize the ships and their cargo to recoup their losses. To avoid this, Hanjin's captains were given orders: stay put. The ships were left to drift, marooned at sea, often just outside the territorial waters of major ports such as Long Beach, Singapore, and Rotterdam. The human element of the crisis was immediate and tragic. Imagine being a captain on one of those ships. You are sitting just outside Long Beach port. You can see the city's lights, but you cannot dock. Your fuel is running low, meaning you can't power the cooling systems for the refrigerated containers, or reefers, which are full of perishable goods such as frozen seafood, fruit, and medical supplies. This cargo is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Crew members were reported to be running out of fresh water and basic provisions, and even their wages had not been paid. They were literally being held hostage by a financial decision made thousands of miles away in a Korean boardroom. The repercussions rippled across the global economy. Manufacturers were unable to obtain raw materials. Retailers, from Amazon to local boutiques, were unable to receive finished goods, which threatened the crucial Black Friday and Christmas shopping seasons. Companies had to scramble to find new shipping solutions, causing the remaining carriers to increase their freight prices by up to 50% within weeks. The entire supply chain experienced an immediate and severe case of financial gridlock. The unwinding process was agonizingly slow and complicated. Emergency court orders were required in multiple countries, including the U.S. bankruptcy court, to allow the Hanjin ships to dock temporarily without fear of seizure. South Korea had to approve emergency funds that were quickly depleted, just to pay for docking fees, fuel, and basic labor to unload the ships. This involved moving Hanjin containers to rival carriers or using air freight, a vastly more expensive option, to meet holiday deadlines. It took the entire logistics world months to untangle the mess of stranded containers and find out where they were and who owned them. Hanjin Shipping, once a global giant, quickly dissolved, with its most valuable assets being sold off to rivals such as Korea Line Corp. And various international buyers. The collapse of Hanjin stands as a powerful and chilling reminder. A failure of financial planning, over-leveraging, and aggressive industrial expansion. It became a profound, systemic shock. It revealed the fragile, just-in-time nature of our modern economy, demonstrating that the financial collapse of a major South Korean player can literally halt the flow of goods to every corner of the globe. Even in the age of digital finance, it showed us that the system can be brought to a halt by crippling debt and a lack of faith in traditional hard assets, the ships themselves. For a brief, terrifying moment, the ocean became the battlefield of a quiet financial war, and the world economy was the casualty.